Boys, let's get to this. Let's try to do an update. It's going to be pretty tough because we have such a big variance in the aftermarket, and we'll kind of really have to see what happens. I'll tell to you about what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go over what I want to see, what I hope we can see, what to kind of expect possibly to keep us in this area. I'm really hoping that we can at least somewhat maintain some of these levels until Monday to Tuesday so that the VIX can start in a really good place so that when we go down, there's a really good here, let me bring it up with the VIX real quick. It'll be a little bit easier. So hopefully we can stick here a bit longer. The idea is that we'll actually have a stronger foundation as we push up instead of something that just kind of shoots up. Most likely we could have something like this, depending on what it looks like right now in after hours, but we'll have to see. So just kind of going back to what we've seen with the VIX, we have this here, here, here. Obviously the VIX is closed right now. If it opens up here, this is going to be pretty bullish on the day, and I'll take some like put positions on a decent amount of stuff. We'll see what happens. We have a lot of deviations, or like a lot of a lot of more pushing down. I wouldn't say like deviations, but from the normal, we have quite a bit of dropping, which is still pretty reasonable. Just looking at things from this perspective, if we kind of see ourselves at the tops of wherever we are, we got this, we got the SPY, NASDAQ's a little bit higher, Dow Jones a little bit closer with it, but we can see on the day time frame averages too. As we could see the week up here and some things like the NASDAQ, we can see how it fell back in to some of its, bearishness. So I've talked about this a little bit. I believe we had this on the DAX had this at one point. I believe in 2008, we also had something like this. Let me just see to double check on that. Well, I'll double check on that later, but that's not the point. We can do that's extraneous information. That's not important. But we have kind of a failed breakout. Makes sense that you'd have more pressure, so we can see this push into here, and then we can kind of see what we pushed into today. So we can see a little bit of ugliness there, and I'll kind of go over Apple and what I was looking at today, and how I could kind of see some of the stuff going down and where I see it's going. Anyway, back to the VIX. What we'd really like to see, or what I'd like to really see, is that we maintain this. So I'll show what I'm hoping on Apple is that we push into some support. We can get pushed up for the rest of the week just a little bit, nothing significant that's going to make any difference, but that's going to so what I'm hoping is that if we have something maybe up here, it will hit up here, and then Apple will hit what it needs to, and we'll push back down. I'd like to see us end in this area and start the week here. On the day, it would look pretty nice, somewhat of a cupping motion. Next week on Monday, we'd start right above the week time frame. As we can see in these other time frames, we just simply haven't started above, or slightly above. We start all the way up here, as we can see. We hit the day time frames, both of those just push back down. So end in an ugly place, more importantly, start in an ugly place. So same issue here. So I'm hoping we can just hold here for a little bit. I mean, technically this isn't really that good, but like if you're trying to get puts and you want to be bearish on something and you just want a direct direction, and you want stuff to drop and not like half drop and kind of come back, to me it makes more sense to hold it in this position, confirm on the week, and then from there, what I was saying, we'll see on the next once we start on the daytime frames, then we can get the daytime frame good start above here on the daytime frame to send the whole market down. At the same time, we'll have that week time frame support, and I think we could hit some really insane and really crazy things in that manner. So that's what I'm hoping in a sense. And I look at Apple for a lot of this stuff, and we can kind of look back and we can see with the other ideas of what I was really talking about. So if remember in some of pretty much all of this week, we're saying we want to see something start pretty much above slightly. I mean, this was, I hate saying this every time because it changes. This was 1 cent above. This was good enough. Boom. We pushed up way too quick. We should have gapped. CPI, we just got overbought at the same time with the CPI. I think without the CPI, we'd probably be somewhere in this area. I don't think we'd be this far down personally. Obviously, there'd be a lot of selling, but I still think we would have had more of a formation. We'd have anything forming here more than, I don't know. There could be so many different things. I don't think we'd be up in this area per se. Probably would be somewhere around here by now, but I don't think we'd be all the way down as far as we are. So what we can kind of see happened here, daytime frame. If we look at this in the 5 minutes, we can go to extended hours, and we'll see with this. Where is it? So we actually hit the week time frame in the pre-market trading. That's this line up here, as we can see here. Oh, where is it? As we can see here. All right, so now we're all the way back down here. it makes sense that 150 would be the range. So what I'm hoping is that tomorrow we'll push somewhere down here, and then we'll push all the way back up somewhere to 152, 152.50. Any of those is fine with me. And so what'll be nice here for me is if we can hit this exactly, and then we have the next one switch over, we should be able to just go through. So if we have something like this, I could see more so. So a lot of times when I see this happen, if we go through and we have like a low that's lower than the line, on the next time we can hold there. We can see a couple examples, even though this is kind of shorter term, just to show what I'm talking about. And we can kind of see in this somewhat here, and then you see somewhat here into this here. So if we just hit it nicely and have a good bounce back up, I think that would be great. And the reason I don't think we're going to go anywhere and why I'd like to see that is I would like to see the VIX at the tops of the weeks, the bottom of this channel here, or this like range, but at the top of the weeks. And then hopefully on Monday, nothing too much happens, and then the real storm comes once Monday really starts. Like in pre-market, hopefully nothing happens and the real storm comes. So technically, we see a start here at 310, so we could see a real storm in the pre-market. I'd mainly just want it to hold here, and then this looks great to go up, and then any day that ends around here, hopefully we have something like that. Everything should just crap. I mean, I could see a 5, 10 over a 10% down day, even in that sense. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens or how much trading gets stopped throughout those days or what happens with that. But um, that's that in that sense. So we'll see. That's what I'm looking for right now. It's going to be a little bit hard to tell. We're going to have to see where things open and kind of get a better idea. I'm still looking for anything. Oops. I'm still looking for activity down here at the week since we've not hit it. And as we've seen before, we're really just ranging in between the week. We saw here that we hit this in that pre-market, and then we immediately pushed down, or we pushed down towards the start of the market. Started the market open, and then so we're pretty much here. So it makes sense from here when we really fall back in that we try to test up, we stop halfway without coming down, and then we come all the way up. This could cause it to just drop through, but I'd still imagine it would bounce here. It just looks like a decent place. Now, with a hold at the end of the day, I very much so question that, and that's why I'd like to see the bounce on this week, and then next week I'd like to see it push back, and I think it could fall through. Otherwise, usually what I like to see is I like to see it end here and then start here. So essentially, what we saw in the Nasdaq, where we're pretty much opened right under it, and the best move at that point is to sell that kind of stuff, where it just makes sense at that point. And that would give us a pretty decent down. So from Apple is what I use to determine it for most things. We have this here on the day at 146, but besides that, on the week time frame and this here, we have this all the way down at 85. We have something on the month all the way down here at 80 or 78. So, or 79 pretty much. So it's pretty low. It's pretty far down there. We'll see what happens. I mean, it is Apple. I use it as a tournament. So Apple coming down, a lot of other things could come down. So let's get to Bitcoin real quick. Now that we've kind of seen that, we want to see with the VIX, where we'd hope that Apple bounces. Hopefully, we don't see anything too much with the VIX, and if anything, it's still a buy, or it's still a put on stuff if we can actually start up here on one of these days, because we can see we just have not been able to start here. So even if I don't know what's going on with the VIX specifically, but we can tell they are protecting this area with their lives. So if we start up here, I'll just get into a put position. I'm hoping. I already got into some. I got out of them, but I already got into some Apple at like 164.10 top. So I already played some things at the top. So what I'm hoping to do here is play before we get to this area, but hopefully on Monday and then Tuesday, start a position Monday and then build it up on Tuesday with the expectation of whenever we start up here, because it's 3:10 in the morning, the market could easily just get crushed in pre-market, and we could end up here. So we're going to start the day here because it opens at 3:10, but by the time the market opens, we could be all the way up here. So I want to position somewhat down here, and that's why I'm hoping that we stay down here. So to look at Bitcoin, same as usual, what we want to see happen, we're just looking for this same pattern every single time. We want to see this come under. We should expect it to reject, get pushed down. We didn't get pushed down here. Makes sense. We dropped so much. No one wants to push it. No one wants to push it down. It makes sense again here that we just kind of trend over. And then this made sense here too, because we could see the short-term reversal with what was going on. And also you can see that we don't get pushed under. So if you're just waiting for a hard short, you got denied or missed, like nothing happened. Hard denied the chance. Very, very close. And then not here. So is what we can see looking for the same thing here. We end under, but we start above. It's about where we start, not where we end. We could push through any of these times, even though we start above, as we can kind of see throughout some of these days. But the main point is to start under, and then on that day time frame, people see it. They see that it looks ugly. So the initial thought on that candle time frame is, this is horrible. We want to sell down. So a couple other things that we have here, we can kind of draw this down. What we might expect if we're trying to see like a 1-2, that should bring us somewhere into this area down here. If we really want to expect 10 to 11K on Bitcoin, I still think around here, depending what happens, is when we see that formation, if we do the end under, and then the end under seems just like a decent place to get into a position. But the end under, and then if we push from here, which it should, we'll see. I think it's high chance, but this is probably the best chance to get in the position, because if something really does go wrong, we might not be able to see it here also as well. So this might be the only really time to get in it. We should be able to see kind of a 1-2 with the day also as well. So what we can see down here is the 4. You can see the 4 pushed up here when we first. This is here. So this day, let's do this actually. So we'll do this. Let's bring Bitcoin over here. Let's go on the day time frame here, and then. Right. Okay. So here, whatchamacallit, I think, yeah. So here we get off by the skin of our teeth. We start here, and you can see that from here, we actually come down, push up, and you can see it actually hits where the 4 was, and then it hits where this is where the 2 was at the time, and then it gets pushed down. We didn't have anything to push us up in the market, so it makes sense that we don't really do much. We come over here. We can't see it now. It actually looked nice. It bounced here, had a little bit of a doji. Market pulled us down, so it got pulled down. But the point about this is we can see that this line's kind of coming through. It should be about, when we start tomorrow, it's about 120 down every day. So we should expect it at 19,800 and about 56. So if we end under 19,856, it would be somewhat of an SOS. I'm hoping we don't really drop too much, and I'm hoping that we can end above, just to maintain the similarities with Bitcoin and the market. Also, it feels a little bit better if we were to trend under over the weekend, because there's less of a chance if the market leaves us in a horrible place over, with a sentiment over the weekend, which it kind of looks like it already is. In my opinion, there's more time for Bitcoin to really just drop and do what it needs to do without worrying about being interrupted, or maybe the market bounces, even if it's a short-term bounce. I think the downwards direction over the weekend can be controlled in that way a lot better. So that would be something to look for also as well, possibly. But really, I'm just looking for it to end under. What we could see from this too is we could look at this right here. And so what we could be looking, I think another 1-2 would be starting under. So starting under 19,856. And then possibly when we come under right here, which looks like it'll be about, well, this will be the new day starts. But so the new day will be 19,640. So maybe at 12 o'clock or somewhere around there. But maybe I'm hoping to see a push down from here, and then a 4-hour end under, and then here. So it'd be nice to see it on both time frames as possible. I think the day time frame is the best time frame to get in, but maybe for like a 1-2 or for initial position, and then adding on to that, this 4-hour could be of some use for that. We have some targets under. I don't want to go over too many of them now. We can kind of, I guess we can just go over we'll go here, and then we'll go the week time frame. So we do have something about 17.6, I believe. The one issue for this is we've bounced on this line, the 200 smooth moving average, 3 times in Bitcoin's history: 2015, 2020, and 2022 recently, as we can see here. The thing about it is we've never been under this. It's always bounced on it. And so this is also one concern of great is, so we can do here. Let's do this. So you see how we like bounce on it? You see how we bounce on it? See how we pretty much bounce on it? We've never had anything that's really come under, or with anything of significance, especially ending and starting anything under. So this also could be something of significance right now. So it looks like is it at 18K? Really? Wow. So it's at 18K. This thing is moving up quickly. So this is at 18K now. So we could expect a little bit of a bounce, something there. I don't think this will last. Personally, after hitting it here with such bad price action in this channel, I think it's very likely to just blow past this. And I think it'll end up doing, if we do move down, is to use this as resistance instead of support, and be another indicator that we're going to push down. So one of the other things we do have under us is we do have 12-hour time frames for these. So I don't think these will really matter. If anything, we have the day above us, which I also think makes this a little bit difficult. Let me see where these are really quick. I'm going to have to mark these because they've been moving pretty aggressively. So I don't value them any whatsoever, anything more than the what's on the week or what's on the day. So we could expect maybe to bounce somewhat here. Possibly, I think most of these would be weak bounces. Let's just try to guess where this is. This would kind of look like here. This would be here. This is the weak time frame. Oh no, this is the weak time frame here, right here at 18K. So let's do that. Should be right here, like 18K, right? So that's the week time frame. So we could have something that bounces here, maybe fails. I don't think it's of too much concern, so I don't really want to go into it. I think the core of this is we're looking for this pattern, which I've seen before plenty of times, but we're looking for this pattern specifically, it to start under for an entry point here, and then we're looking for things to push down. So are just expecting things to push down from there. Now I'd like to see it under here. Also on the day, I think this one's a lot better. So if we're really looking for it at another point, depending on what it does, it really just kind of depends what happens wherever this is. I don't know where this is going to be, but wherever if you just if you just use the double hole or a hole and you just have the 375 on the day time frame, you'll be able to see it in that general area. What I'm talking about also, just to show a couple more examples, or at least one more, we can see here on the 4-hour time frame, there weren't any other candles nearby, but you see, boom, hit the top, hit the bottom, almost like a hit on it. This is why I also didn't have confidence in this spot because we just came from here. Similar in longer time frame though is what we saw on the week 200, and then boom, 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 right? So that's essentially what we're looking for, or if we're in that we do not want to see, really just don't want to see. So we'll see what happens. I think it could easily maintain what it needs to maintain. I think it's still in range. It just has to push up, I think about $40 to $50, and it'll start in a decent spot to be able to possibly hold. Considering how bad pre-market is for some of these. This is getting a little bit of a bounce. I can see it's up 17 cents, which is okay. I think FedEx I saw was getting destroyed. Oh, well, we can also kind of see why FedEx was getting destroyed considering the market conditions. It's surprising that it even got out through some of these, but pretty much there's not really much you can do. This is something pretty decent. I would have liked to have seen something start around here and come back. We can see we started under, but when you have something like this and it just gets pushed down, boom, there's not much you can do. So I could see why someone might have wanted to gotten out. I don't know, maybe something else, but I more than anything, I could see why there's low liquidity or how the price could easily have gotten pushed down because that's some pretty sketchy stuff right there. Yeah, and we already hit this right here trying to come back up, and it looks like we're struggling hitting this pretty key level. It almost makes you wonder how many times you have to hit one thing before you come back through it. So it makes sense that it's sitting somewhat around here. It does look like we have, I don't know what color that is. I don't know why the 618 is that color, but it looks like it's around the 618. I've had this you can tell with these lines. I haven't looked at this in a while for FedEx, but yeah, so it makes sense where it is. So maybe I think we could expect some up from this also if it can just hold where it is right now. I see zero reason to sell FedEx where it is. It's dropped 16% in after hours. So, how much does one person really want to sell? So let's kind of go to oil and then we can talk about oil and we'll finish this up. So pretty much with oil, Biden said he didn't want to buy it at 80 anymore. So 80, but I still think it's fine to get it at 80. We'll see what happens here. But the one nice thing is that if it's 80 is an inflection point. So if we don't get something nice at 80, which I still think around this 79 to 80 spot, 79 to 80.50, we can see on the month time frame should be 80.50 right here. Or 79. I thought it was 80.50 for some of these. I guess I was wrong. So excuse me. So 80, 79 to 80, not 80.50. It looks like great spot. But it also looks like if we do have issues with this area, we will almost for sure I think we'll definitely come back up, but I think we'll then head back down. So I would, for a short, I don't think a short position when we come to 80. I think it's more when we come to 72, bounce back up to this 79 spot, and then I think it makes a lot more sense to start going through with some of these things and expecting expecting the price to go down from there, especially if we really are going into a acknowledged recession, because that's what it is really at the end of the day, right? It's not a recession, it's a acknowledged recession. So anyway, take care, guys. I think we got most of what we were looking for. It took a little bit longer than normal. We had some weird stuff throughout the day with that drop, but everything set from then was pretty normal, and the selling's kind of normal because we're at a pretty big inflection point, possibly. Anyway, take care, y'all.